Aloha. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Love What with Audrey Weilai, where we ask people what non-romantic love means to them. Today's special guest is Barbara Condy-Lees. She's a trainer, counselor, educator, and researcher with a professional career expanding from the mental health field, working with all ages. And she holds two master degrees in public health and social work, as well as a Bachelor of Arts in psychology. She's completing her dissertation towards a PhD in language and communication. She's an expert in health literacy, and she founded the first Toastmaster club in Greece about 20 years ago. She's also president of a nonprofit called Art Graffiti in the city. Aloha, Barbara. Thank you
Good
so much.
morning from Greece. Aloha. Good evening to you.
Yes, good evening from Hawaii. Thank you so much for your time. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, I was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts. My parents are from Greece. I went to school in Simmons College. I grew up well, we moved and I actually had come to Greece for 1 year in sixth grade. And
Okay.
then I went back because my parents decided that their thinking changed. I went on to study psychology and I minored in English and communication. I always loved that. And then I went on after many years because I was working for health maintenance organizations. I was doing a lot of administrative work, research work, which was really great. So I realized, Audrey, that I have both sides of my brain active after many years because I also did part-time work in the Museum of Fine Arts. Like I worked in their
Wow.
gift shop. So I really liked the art.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of came together finally in my midlife. My master's one is in clinical social work, and the other one is in public health because I
Yeah.
definitely want to focus on prevention and to help communities and inspire communities. And then while I was working and trained by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Georgia because I lived there for almost 2 years. And then they moved me to Rhode Island in
Yeah.
Providence, which was another 4 years before I came to Greece. That was a big
Okay.
decision. But I realized that I really wanted to do something different. How am
Mm,
I going to put all these things together? So moving to Greece after the Olympics, because a lot of people said, "Oh, did you come as a volunteer?" I'm like, "No, I
no.
came after completely idealistically because I knew
Yeah.
that the public health system here didn't put such an emphasis on prevention." Okay.
Mm,
So when I came here and then I slowly got into academia. So really, I'm a trainer, I'm an
okay.
educator. I work in a couple of universities now as adjunct because
Hmm.
that's how things are here.
Yeah.
And I'm a counselor. And I
Wow.
also am president of a nonprofit called Art Graffiti in the City. And I also
Okay.
founded Toastmasters, the first club in Greece back in 2005. And now there are 10 clubs in Greece, which is
Hmm.
public speaking and leadership, and it's international. And I think this really helps a lot for various reasons, whether you're shy, whether
Hmm.
you want to be better at your job, you want to learn a little bit about project management. So these things came together with Art Graffiti in the City because this is a voluntary position
Yeah.
and we're doing things in the community. And also, this goes into my PhD because the health literacy
Okay.
piece and the risk taking that some of the graffiti taggers do, all
Hmm.
of this sort of came together because I also see the debate in public space when people
Mm,
are infringing on people's private space. And I'm a mother
yeah.
and I love people in general. I love
Mm,
nature, big nature
yeah.
fan, and I'm also a very creative person. I
Sounds like it. Can you say more about graffiti? Because I studied psychology and art as well. I don't know much about street art or graffiti.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's interesting because graffiti, meaning I write, has been even since the ancient times.
Mm,
Ancient Egypt, you will find The Vikings had their inscription on the foot of the pharaohs, so
Right.
graffiti, even the people that were painting in the caves, this is considered, uh,
Graffiti.
graffiti, right? Or
Yeah.
graffiti, as they say in Europe. It's a different pronunciation. And then street art came along because people that are artists, who are
Yeah.
amazing artists, and they do these beautiful pieces, because I saw it in Massachusetts. And that's why I had this idea when I came here and I started talking to art historians. And so we got a group together because you can't do these things alone. So
No.
you need to have the right people. So I said, hey, there's this phenomenon of what they used to call dirty tagging. People don't like it, but I still say
Sure.
they infringe and they write signatures, because when I started interviewing these guys, I realized it was about being in the group, and it was
Hmm.
risk taking, and they get this, like, this high. They call it an expensive sport, right? And
So
then
what is dirty tagging in
well, it's like
graffiti?
you're taking your door, right? And then you're
Yeah.
just scribbling on it.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
don't think you would like that. I don't think if you paid a lot of money for that door, or if I'm the municipality and
Yeah.
I'm realizing that I have to clean this up because it's very, very expensive.
Yeah.
But, there is this motivation behind it. These guys don't really have this mindfulness. So this is one of the things that psychology can help us teach everyone, including school children, that what,
Mm.
whatever you do, it's the butterfly effect, Audrey. It's the,
Sure.
whatever you do as an individual can either create joy or
Mm.
can create distress.
Mm.
So the street art, in my opinion, if it's good, it can really help change the dynamics of a community, because people
Mm.
start feeling like their stories are told. You'll go to
Yeah.
Canada and you'll see a lot of Native Americans painted, so it's like reminding us that,
Yeah.
what, we were here first and you came after,
Mm.
but history evolves,
Sure.
diversity, and people start to come together and they realize that we have common threads.
Mm.
So if I could say that I see street art and graffiti as the yarn that pulls together a tapestry, if we
Wow.
allow it, but we also
Okay.
see that there's a lot of young people that have a need to be noticed.
Mm.
So, what is that about? And also,
Sure.
could we take this creative energy that they have? I've been going to schools, I've been presenting at conferences about this idea. We've had certain exhibits that we've done with our group that I'm
Sure.
involved in the periphery. And actually, this month, I'm going to be part of a mental health festival for carers.
Mm.
So, we're going to be drawing something, and then they can come in and add their piece. And of course, I'm not the person that will do, even though I draw, I'm not that good, but the artist
It's
will
the
do.
creative process.
Yeah, I can come up with the ideas, but it's usually better if someone else can do it, because I don't see myself climbing, down a wall and doing any murals.
Can you say more about the Toastmaster group? Because it's been going for what, 20 years,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
What give you the
Actually, since
motivation? It's
in
more, it's
Greece,
more.
yeah, yeah, in Greece, 20 years. Happy
Okay.
birthday, Toastmasters. But actually, Toastmasters itself, the international group, was started in 1930.
Mm.
So actually 1925, 1930, between those years, because Smedley was thinking that we need to inspire the young people. And he
Mm.
used to do these group talks, trainings for the
Yeah.
YMCA, the Young Men's Christian Association, because they were young men. So in essence, they were learning skills. But
Mm.
then this slowly took off because he was also part of Rotary. So all of these groups have a huge network. Now it's in 144 countries. There's
Yeah, that's
over,
impressive.
it's close to 400,000 members. So
Mm.
people come, I call them surfers, since you're in Hawaii, the surfers, they come, they get what they want,
I nosedive.
they leave, but then there are the lifers, right?
Yes.
So these are people like me that have been doing this. And the first time I went to a meeting was actually in CDC. So I was
Mm-mm.
like, if these scientists can be really like, quote, fun and immature, then you know
Yes.
what, something's going on here. And it definitely, I saw the positive psychology piece of it and the positive reinforcement and how people really came out of their shell. So what I want to say to you is that I actually went to Toastmasters myself because I was horrible at impromptu speaking. Horrible.
Mm-hmm. A lot
And
of people are.
yep, yep. So
Yeah.
that was my motivation. And then I realized, oh my goodness, there's so much I have to learn here. And
Mm-hmm.
then they put me in positions of leadership. What happens is you work with a team and everyone works together. So you have this
Sure.
revolving leadership piece. And then there are the speech competitions. So whoever wins the international speech contest, which is the one big contest for all countries, they're considered like an Olympic athlete of public speaking.
Okay. So
Not easy
it's
to
yeah.
do, not easy to do. The only thing I want to tell you, in
Yes.
2016, I did take the chance. I said, okay, I'm
Mm.
going to enter the impromptu speaking to get over
Yes.
my fear. And I went all the way in Europe and I was shocked
Wow.
because it was not easy. Audrey, when you're up against these people that have amazing voices, you know, they're
Mm-hmm.
lawyers, they're like this deep voice, and you know, I'm
Yeah,
not
they
going to.
talk with their whole
No,
body.
but that's right. But you know, it happened because
Mm-hmm.
it's about creativity. Toastmasters is really, I think, a
Mm-hmm.
support group, in my opinion. And
Okay.
I think everyone should do it really at some point. And
Mm-hmm.
you usually do it if you're 18 and over, but there are clubs for younger people.
Okay.
The Gavel Club, there's youth
Mm.
leadership, you know, they do community things. I used to do this when I went to the Boys and Girls Club in Rhode Island. So I helped people from underprivileged
Mm.
society to sort of increase some of their confidence and
Yes.
skills, you know, because what's the point of us doing stuff if we cannot help our fellow human being? There's no point.
Mm. Mm. That's really well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does that tie into what non-romantic love means to you? Is to
Yes.
help other fellow
Yes.
humans?
So, you know, the concept of Philadelphia, which is a nice Greek word, philos
Mm.
adelphos, meaning friend and brother. So, slang, people are like, yo, bro. But what they're saying really is what they used to say day to day walking down Athens, hey, brother, you know, because
Mm.
the point that and then there's also this other nice term that is a Greek term that I can't exactly translate. It's called philotimo, meaning friend of honor. So what does that mean? That means that can you look at yourself in the mirror at the
Mm.
end of the day and feel like you've honored your fellow human beings,
Oh,
your family,
wow.
your
Okay.
friends? Oftentimes when my son does something, he's now going to be 17.
Okay.
You know, teenagers, they're not easy. So I was like, do you
Is
have
he
philo?
doing graffiti?
No.
Okay.
He actually says that he does not have a creative bone in his body, but I don't agree.
Mm.
I don't agree. He says he's more practical. He has a concept of color, but you know what? I
Yeah.
think a lot of young people don't know because they're buds, you know, they have to bloom. So but when I say to him, "Do you have filotimo?" You know, like and so he gets
Mm.
for a second to think, am I honoring? Because you know, you think of the 10 commandments, right? Honor thy mother,
Sure.
honor thy father. So I think it sort of it clicks
Mm.
and he'll apologize. So that's how it
Yes.
is. It's a balance, right?
What language do you speak at home?
Both. I speak
Sure.
Greek and I
Yeah.
speak English.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, as a parent, because I've lived in both countries with the parents speaking opposite.
Mm.
So they're usually embarrassed when their parents are not speaking the majority language. When I
Okay.
was a kid, I would hate it when my mother would speak Greek to me in public. It was like, oh my God,
Mm.
speaking Greek to me. So it's like this code switching, we call it.
Sure.
But of course, English is a majority language, so you would
Mm.
think, but you know, kids also feel discomfort with their accent.
Yeah.
So we speak both, and now the gaming has helped English improve because the kids speak English. I used to speak some French, but even
Mm.
though my son learned French, he detests the language. So I tried to
Really?
convince him. I
I
tried
think
to
it's
convince
such a
him.
beautiful language. But
I
that's
said,
my
"No,
personal opinion.
I I know." We went to Quebec City and I said,
Hmm.
"Do you see?" I said, "People are bilingual,
Yes,
trilingual. This is a gift if you can learn
yes.
French." Right?
Yeah.
But that's what I try to do speaking, because I'm talking about him, but really what do I try to do with the young people that I work
Mm,
with? Remember, I teach, right?
yeah.
So I teach, I do also groups.
Yes.
I do a lot of self-development groups. So I travel to some parts of Athens and
Mm,
I've been doing seminars. So I try to bring in all of this knowledge together because I want to
yeah.
say to you, when you ask me about love,
Yeah.
the whole concept in developmental psychology is that we learn ourselves about
Mm,
ourselves, right? So
yes.
teenage years are identity, right? And then as you go into your midlife, you're supposed to give back. So this is called generativity. And then
Mm-hmm.
as you go towards the end of life, you're doing a life review. And if
Okay.
you like what you see, you'll feel content. But if you don't like what you see, sometimes people will
Mm,
lapse into depression,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
some people discover things about themselves in later parts in life, but
Mm-hmm.
why couldn't we get them to sort of start working on it
Earlier.
earlier? Yeah.
So, out of all the projects and organizations you're involved in, what's something really exciting you're working on right now?
So one of the things I'm really excited about, because I'm on the board of the Hellenic Scientific Society for Health Literacy.
What does health literacy mean?
So health literacy is like the most important thing in human beings. What do I mean? It's from
Oh
the
my
time your
goodness,
mom
I
is
didn't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It's from the time you're born, your mom is pregnant. She knows what to do for her health. She
Yes.
knows how to help herself, right? All
Mm,
the way to accessing services and really focusing on things like prevention, all the way till
sure.
the end of your life.
Yeah.
So I had written a chapter on healthy aging, right?
Mm,
If people are health literate, they do better.
okay.
So it
So
has
they
to do,
can navigate the world
yeah, because it's a
more with
navigation,
ease.
but it's also what you know from your culture, because you know what?
Mm,
People could be uneducated and be health literate. So,
sure.
if, for example, we know in certain tribes they do a lot of
Mm,
these rituals for caring for their teeth and they have perfect oral health, right?
yes.
So that's health literacy.
Okay.
Or if you know what
Got
to
it.
eat, the Mediterranean diet we know is one of the better ones. So I'm very
Yes.
excited because finally we have the ability to start talking maybe to schools, if we can. In Greece is at a critical point right now to focus on patient safety standards.
Mm, mm,
But
okay.
also, we have an opportunity to really help young people, because I'm realizing, and this is one of the reasons I came to Greece,
Mm,
there's not a lot, there's enough, but it's not in the way that really it needs to be,
hmm.
focusing on prevention and health
Sure.
matters in
Yeah.
schools. And I'm not going to
Mm,
compete with doctors and nurses, but I'm going to have
no.
them on my team, because as a counselor, I have a different way of approaching. So I'm very excited about this possibility because I really want to help young people. And if I also can
Yeah.
raise the awareness around this issue of graffiti and street art and how it can affect our well being, then
Hmm.
I will have succeeded in my task.
Can you say more? Because it's not clicking for me yet, how graffiti help with our well-being.
Yeah. If you come to Athens
Yes.
today,
Yes.
you will see beautiful sections, but you will see sections where literally the lower levels where people can
Hmm.
access, they're trashed. So
Okay.
people come like graffiti tourists, they come to Greece because they
Hmm.
know the police are not going to really be around, even though it is illegal. It is
Sure.
illegal. It's so pervasive that it affects people. It's like you don't feel good. It's like a form of
Mm.
violence.
Yes.
Magdalena Graffiti, who you've met. So she's a
Mm.
family therapist and she's trained in nonviolent communication. And we
Yes.
had done a discussion with her and another psychologist who
Mm.
focuses on working with communities on what we can do to help communities heal. Some of it is very angry political, some of it
Yeah.
is teams.
Hmm.
So the anger is so pervasive. You can blame others, you can blame the government, but no, really, it has to start from you. So
Yes.
if you can help other people and you can organize,
Mm.
you can achieve. What graffiti does, it can either help. So we've seen amazing things in schools where
Yes.
everyone contributes together. Street art can
Hmm.
inspire.
Yeah.
Okay. And yes, this is well-being. So if
Mm.
I ask people, what do they think? I had done a local interview in 2018 with some businesses.
Okay.
Even though they understand the right for people to express themselves, I will never
Sure.
forget two examples, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Mm.
One was a businessman that had a small kiosk that they sell little things. It's something that they created in Greece by people that had some physical disabilities. So historically, they had like a small business.
Mm.
So he said, I came and my little kiosk, even though he had drawn down these like doors, windows, whatever,
Sure.
yeah, the paint, the graffiti, the people that were tagging, it went through and it destroyed everything.
Oh my goodness.
So that was one example. And the other
Sure.
example was I was at a conference and this woman raised her hand and she
Hmm.
said, I want to tell you, I'm glad you're talking about this because one of my friends, her son from France came to
Hmm.
Greece to do graffiti with a crew, with a team, and
Okay.
he fell and he died.
What do you mean?
He fell.
Oh my goodness.
Also on the trains, I know people take risks. So this is
Yes.
health literacy. You're taking risks because you're doing spray
Hmm.
without wearing a mask. So, in my interviews,
Sure.
I discovered that most people are not even taking basic safety measures. But the other thing is that you are really putting others at risk for their business. And
Hmm.
so, this is going into this whole mindfulness piece.
Sure.
But you can inspire
Mm.
if you ask. I mean, we have these amazing artists. A local artist is Eno. He sort of integrates philosophy. So he
Mm.
sort of reminds the society of things that we've forgotten. And one of my big dreams, I'm putting it out there for your viewers here. I'm putting it out there. And one of my dreams is to find a wall that
Hmm.
someone is willing to loan or give in
Yeah.
public space and find the funding so that we can create a mural of some of
Hmm.
the key scientists and innovators that people have forgotten about. I'll give you an
Okay.
example. People
Yeah.
don't realize you go to your gynecologist and you get your PAP. It's Papa
Hmm.
Nikolaou. He was a Greek gynecologist.
I had no idea.
Yes, the guy that created penicillin, his name is
Hmm.
Fleming. He was married to
Yes.
Amalia Fleming, who was a Greek woman, and they contributed. So people
Mm.
there are people that have done really interesting and amazing things, but people
Yeah.
have forgotten.
Mm.
So I want to focus on the more modern, but also people that really have made tremendous progress. There are people
Sure.
that have there was a cosmologist, someone that was Russian Greek and
Mm.
traveled the cosmos. So people that travel around the earth, I think, are the
Sure.
most well-rounded people because they realize how small we are. So
I think
conflict
so.
wouldn't happen. So if we can bring people together through music and art and
Yes.
science, that's great.
One of my favorite things is when I'm thinking about all those horrible things that I should have done this, could have done that. I just go stargazing. Then I realize how small I am and how small the so-called my problems are. I appreciate nature in that way.
That's right. And actually,
Yeah.
there's a very famous Greek book which I remember reading in sixth grade when I was here. It's called A Child is Counting the Stars,
Mm.
Astra. And so people that came from very poor villages, or people that felt that they didn't have hope, or because my family came, it was not easy. And also there were
Sure.
wars here. So when
Mm.
people live trauma and they live these difficult situations, what helps them? So there's a couple of things that help them. One
Yeah.
is they have strong faith. They
Mm.
see themselves, as you described yourself, that you know what,
Hmm.
we are just one piece and we can evolve, we can change. And you
Yeah.
focus on nature because nature heals. The graffiti piece can help historical memory,
Yeah.
it can help expression, it can create innovation. I mean, now with AI, they have these apps, you go in and you can visualize yourself in these sort of graffiti
Hmm.
havens. Everyone has the right, like I said before, to public space, even the old
Yeah.
person who can't afford to
Mm.
repaint his door, or the person, like I told you, who had this little business. He has the right to clean proper
Yeah.
supplies, and you
Yeah.
don't have a right to destroy it
Hmm.
in the name of humanity, really, because it
Hmm.
is humanity, right? So if you love
Yeah.
humans, you're mindful, aren't you? You asked me about love. So if you love
Mm.
humans, you're mindful. You're mindful of your actions. You're mindful of your words. There are times I'm trying to get better that maybe I'll say something I didn't want to say, but I have the insight to immediately stop this. It's a very narcissistic, self-centered society.
Mm.
Egocentrism, a nice Greek word, is
Hmm.
that you can't be only egocentric. You
Mm.
can't be, I'm going to help just my own. You really need to be giving, because as you give, you receive more. I've seen this
Yes.
20 times over.
Yes.
So the more you give, the more you receive. We're not saying, though, not to be smart
Hmm.
about caring for yourself, because I've seen that too, Audrey. I've seen
Mm.
people that have been taken advantage of. I've really that have lost their homes from even their immediate family. You need to be smart about, of course, taking care of yourself. But
Yeah.
most, I think, spiritualists or religious leaders will tell you that this is the point, that
Mm.
yes, manage your emotions, but you also learn to share and to give to other people, right? So
Yeah.
this is really what love is, isn't it? This is coming back to the word Philadelphia, Philadelphia.
Wow. I'm learning so much. I was watching a lecture or presentation you were giving, and you were talking about leadership and leading with empathy and I think integrity as well. Can you say
Yes.
more about that?
A lot of times people don't realize that the reason someone is a CEO,
Hmm.
not the CFO, because a CFO is a different story. A lot of times what they do is they're more of a type B person. So they're able to
Okay.
sit back and bring people together. I'm thinking of Stephen Jobs. I think this is how he was as a person.
Mm,
I think where it got to him, and this is where he probably got sick, is that people were taking advantage of this. Okay. So leading with empathy, we're not saying you don't have boundaries. You clearly need to say no. You
yeah.
clearly need to have boundaries. And you also need to be very, very detail oriented, because you cannot
Yeah.
lead unless you really take the time to know people and know the situation.
Mm,
But empathy is also understanding that, you know what, I have people in my group that have physical disabilities.
yeah.
So if I'm going to focus on productivity, which is really
Hmm.
what even health literacy focuses on, is how do I help people to take care of their health to be more productive? But I
Sure.
also need to be empathic, that once in a while I need to reward them.
Mm,
I need to say thank you. And the integrity piece is really just keeping your head up high, being who you say you are, being authentic.
mm,
You have many years, and put your ego aside and ask for help.
mm.
Recently, I was part of a group situation of conflict. And so I do
Okay.
post about this once in a while,
Yeah.
because people misperceive nonviolent communication as there's something wrong with you. Like, we're not all pacifists.
Mm.
It's how
No.
you use certain words where you can substantiate, yes, I understand you're feeling this way. Yes,
Yeah.
I understand you're stressed. But I'm also not a punching bag.
Mm.
If you want to say whatever you say, and this can be even in your family, it doesn't have to be at work, but
Yeah.
even at work, if people take this out, and I remember a taxi driver
Mm.
story
Yeah.
that he said that someone came in, and he saw someone yelling and screaming, and the taxi driver was like just not
Mm.
moving. He's like, how can you do that? He says, hey, like, I'm like a dumping ground. So if
Mm.
people dump at me, then they won't go home and dump on their family.
Okay.
Because a lot of abuse, Audrey, happens when people are stressed.
Sure.
Right. So if we have the empathy to understand this, you can really get at the core. And so we need to
Mm.
be working both with the victim, but also the perpetrator, right? I'm not
Yeah.
excusing violence, but if you put yourself in that frame, then you can work better with these people, because if you can prevent something,
Mm.
you can prevent from something getting worse, such
Sure.
as physical, cyberbullying, and anything, so these are things even
Hmm.
we talk about in schools, because I've done
Yeah.
training of teachers. So teachers and parents need to work together, because you
Mm.
can raise empathy in schools and you can help people think better. I'm coming back to the concept of Philadelphia. You get the word of the day.
Yes.
We have a word of the day. As a leader, to have the integrity to come out and say, you know what, maybe I didn't get it right. So can you guys tell me, what was it that you think I should change? Because when
Mm.
people feel that they can open up to you and
Yeah.
share what they believe, they will come to you. This is why I think I've been able to do the things I do, because I'm not like a queen bee that gathers people. I really,
No.
really want to get to know people so that they can come closer, and I try to network people. It's this
Hmm.
weave in. So if I
Yeah.
can weave in these ideas that I've had pretty much my whole life and
Mm.
create this tapestry, whether it's a graffiti tapestry or something for real or a figurative one, then I believe that I've accomplished my life's goal and purpose, haven't I? So they say if you have a lot of coincidences, that you're living your life purpose. So that's it. So I think we need to pay attention to these coincidences and learn from them. And then
Mm.
this can help you with your goal to becoming a more effective person and leader. Because
Yeah.
we all have leadership skills, Audrey. I wasn't born a leader. If you were
Mm.
telling me years ago, oh, so you're going to lead this group, many years ago, I went to the Tremont Tea House. It doesn't exist. It's in Boston. It's a tea
Okay.
leaf reading. And
Okay.
the woman said, I'll never forget this. She said, I don't see you living here. I think you're going to move to like Italy, and you're going to be working near this fountain, and you're going to have a pretty big following in communication.
Okay.
I wouldn't have believed this,
Mm.
but here we are.
Hmm.
Here we
Yeah.
are. And the place that I worked those years, in the first 15 years, it did have a big fountain nearby. So,
So mysterious.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I don't think so. I think I wasn't
Mm.
sure. I knew I had it in me, but you're not sure until it happens.
Happens. Yeah.
And until people push you a little bit out of
Hmm.
your comfort zone, because how can you improve if you're constantly in a comfort zone? You can't.
No.
So even though I'm very aware of
Yeah.
people's faults and their fears, and this is leading with empathy, I say, okay, but I have to push you a little bit, and we have a common goal, and I got to get you out of your comfort zone.
Mm. Mm.
Because at the end of the day, if you love yourself, because you talked about love,
Sure.
then you need to help yourself.
then do you define self-love as helping yourself?
I think so, because what's
Okay.
self-care? We talk
Mm-hmm.
about self-care. Your body, as you age, starts
Mm-hmm.
to fall apart, and we call it,
Yes.
it's the primary aging and secondary aging, right? Primary
Mm-hmm.
aging is I get wrinkles, my hair grays, but the secondary aging is what you've done in your life. So if you didn't take care of the temple, your
Mm-hmm.
body will start to fall apart. If you don't love yourself and your body, why would you do harmful things to your body?
Mm.
Why would you get into unhelpful relationships?
Yeah.
Stay in them, because you know what? We all have had unhealthy situations, but
Yeah.
we can keep the person at a distance and we self care. So this is self love, isn't it?
Mm.
Isn't it?
For me, it is.
I'll give you an example.
Mm.
One semester, it's not normal for a professor to do more than 3 or 4 classes a semester.
Okay.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So, because I was working in the different institutions, there was one point that I was doing 6 classes and running the nonprofit and being on the board and
Yeah.
with a teenager.
Mm.
My body at some point, I started forgetting. When you're in
Mm-hmm.
midlife, you start having more brain fog anyway. I
Sure.
worried that I was going to. So, this is where I started telling people, and they didn't
Mm.
like it because you know what? They're used to it. If you're good at what you do and people are happy, they will
Yeah.
keep, like what we say, you have a donkey and you keep, or a camel, and you keep adding, well, the donkey or the
Mm-hmm.
camel is going to collapse, right?
Yeah.
So, you need to say up to here.
Mm-hmm.
And if it means less money, so be it.
Mm.
If it means that you need to give up a position, so be it. You can't be so egocentric to say, oh, I have to do this because I'm the leader. No, I'm okay. And I want to go back to the Toastmasters thing, because we
Yeah.
have what we call rotating leadership. So one year someone is president, another year
Mm-hmm.
another person is president. And you're not really allowed to do it more than 2 consecutive years, right? And then
Okay.
you can take a break and then you can come back. But you can do other leadership roles. You can do other program planning. You don't have to be the person on top that calls the shots, because this is
Yes.
about egocentrism.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not loving yourself if you're constantly putting yourself in such pressure. Because we know this from groups now, when people go on retreats. I went to a recent retreat, and I recommend, if you ever come to Greece, or if anyone comes to Greece,
Yes.
go to smaller islands, not the ones that
Mm.
are popular.
Mm-hmm.
This spring, I went on a retreat to Ithaca.
Okay.
Ithaca was my dream because there's a poem by Cavafy, Our Journey to Ithaca. So
Mm-hmm.
it really is about life review. And there is on YouTube a very special video featuring Sean Connery's voice with the
Mm-hmm.
poem. It's really wonderful. And the music is by Vangelis. Vangelis is also the
Okay.
composer of Star Wars. So, these are,
Mm.
and the Chariots of Fire and all these big, big pieces. But the Ithaca experience for me was really a culmination of going to a place that I didn't know anyone on the retreat, because the person that was going to come with me, my friend, she backed off,
Okay.
backed out last minute. She couldn't do it. And we were forced out of our comfort zone. So I have a little chronic health issue,
Mm.
and it was really hard for me, but I pushed and I said, I'm going to do it. Climbing mountains, going down mountains. I also, little hillsides, and I also have a fear of heights, but I realized that now I have these mechanisms that I can divert
Mm.
my attention, and my anxiety didn't increase. So what I
Okay.
wound up doing on these little hillsides is I was gathering mountain tea.
Mm.
So I was gathering mountain tea, and as I was doing it, I was saying, first of all, it's something healthy because I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to drink it in the winter when I have colds. Secondly, the smell alone helped my anxiety go down. I felt
Mm-hmm.
like something productive. It overcame this fear, because there were certain points that you could see down. I'm sure it's how I would feel coming to Hawaii, going near the volcano. Oh my God, it's like I could fall in. Just something like that.
No, you won't.
You know what I
You
mean?
won't
It's
be
like
able
very,
to go
very,
that
very.
close.
Anyway, you get the idea of the, like in Santorini, there is a volcano, but I don't think it's anything like what it is in Hawaii. But Ithaca was special because exactly that. And also we had some sessions of yoga, which was very hard for me because
Mhm.
people think it's easy. I'm like, not if you have some issues with your body. And
Yeah.
we also did a dance,
Mm.
and you had to do this mimicking exercise, which I thought was really great. So you had to do whatever you did, and people had to mimic you. So what this does is
Okay.
together, people feel this sort of camaraderie, but it also helps you be more physically active. So it's good for your body. And that
Hmm.
was a great way to close the 4 days that we were together, because we
Mm.
all, the 20 people, we said that we would like to go on another trip with the same people.
Mm. So you
And
bonded.
from 28 to 72.
Wow.
So,
That's
this
great.
cross-generational thing,
Yeah.
and it was a really, really important culmination of
Mm.
life, and to see where I'm at, and what I'm capable of doing, and hopefully
Yes.
I will keep doing it, and help others do the same. So that's at the end of the day what we want to do, right? Help others.
Mm. Mm. Is
Philadelphia
this
time.
is this where you did the burning letters? Because you mentioned that in one of your articles, and you said that was transformational.
So one
Yeah.
of the things you can do is, if you have a fear, you can write it, like nothing big, and you burn it.
Mm.
So it's like you're physically making it disappear, so you can prepare yourself for literally getting it out of your life. So
Mm.
the other thing you can do, which I often do every year at the beginning of the year, I write at least 3 things I'm grateful for. So gratitude is a big thing, right? So
Yes.
I'm grateful for blah, blah, blah. I'm grateful for, and then I also set maybe 2 or 3 realistic goals for that year. So at the end of
Mm.
the year, I see, have I done it? But it really does help to write things down, because in cognitive behavior therapy,
Hmm.
it's a lot of homework.
Yes.
People have to write things down. Journaling. One of the articles that I wrote recently, in short paragraph, about creativity and the artist's way. So if you study this book, I'm forgetting the author, what do? They do is they have you do daily exercises in creativity,
Mm.
because you need to unblock yourself. So writers, artists, I consider myself an artist. A lot of people don't know, but I am. I do
Yes.
pencil drawings, and I've done mosaics, and I've done pastels, but there are years that I do nothing. Some years I write
Mm.
1 poem, 2 poems. I've written a children's book, and I'm trying to find the artist to finish it so that I can publish it.
Okay.
But these are not easy because people get blocked.
Mm.
So you need to unblock. And the only way that you can do this is by small techniques like this, which is the letter writing, meditation, getting out of the city, like I did with Ithaca, and just going away for a few days, and
Yes.
not focusing on social media. And the other thing
Yes.
that we need to train younger people is call. So I saw that they're offering seminars of teaching young people how to call, because they've
What do
forgotten.
you mean? How to
Like, phone
make a
call.
phone call?
They don't have the skills, Audrey. They don't have the skills. So I saw this and I was like, well, that's interesting. Well, this is something I'm trying to teach my son, because he's like, well, I sent you a message. I said, look, if you're worried about someone, you pick up the phone and you call. You don't just send them
Hmm.
a message.
Yes.
So, these are the communication roadblocks and opportunities of our time.
Mm.
And even the writing, a lot of people don't want to do it because they're not used to it, Audrey. I had a journal, a diary, since I was in 6th grade.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I can see the patterns of my thinking and how things changed over time. I don't write daily because I don't have time, but
Yeah.
important things. Or what about a dream journal? Either some of the dreams that you actually see, that you dream, to see what are the patterns, because some of them might be your anxieties, your fears, your wishes.
Mm,
So unless you see it written, how are you going to put things together? Because memory fools us. Memory is fleeting.
yes.
We don't remember. So this is why we need to be coming back to some of the skills that we have and to
Mm,
enhance for people. How can you learn to communicate differently?
yes, I like that. Is there anything else you would like to share?
I just want to say that I think what you're doing is a wonderful idea. It
Mm,
allows people that you interview to reflect, and it's also what I consider a continuous tradition. It's almost like an oral tradition so
mm,
that we can share with younger generations so we can help them. I'm
yes.
very happy about having this opportunity. And as a woman, also, I always reflect on a quote that Eleanor Roosevelt said about women. And she
Mm,
said, women are like tea bags. They get stronger when the water is more hot. So
mm,
basically, if you're having life struggles, you need to count on your inner strength. And that's how
wow.
I like to close today, because I
Oh,
believe everyone has inner strength
mhm.
and love. You just have to be able to unlock it.
Yes. One of my favorite part to wrap the conversation up is what's one question you would like to leave for me or the viewers to contemplate on?
One question, huh?
Mhm.
What about a statement?
Okay, I'll take that.
Are you
Mm,
able to look in the mirror, and are you able to be true to yourself as you are able to be true to others? And if so, then you're on the road to integrity.
wow, beautiful. Thank you so much. Aloha,
Thank
Barbara.
you. Aloha, Audrey. Be well.